Hello everybody and welcome back to Cinema Brawls. My name is Matt.
I'm Jake.
I got scared.
Say your name. Just say your name. It's okay.
Daniel.
Good.
Say it louder.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Daniel and I'm proud. Welcome back to another Cinema Theory video where we will discuss a film theory in keeping with our Pixar month. Hopefully you have been enjoying that. We are going to tackle the Pixar theory.
And in order to do so, we brought our very own Matt to tell you exactly what it is.
Matt's our resident Pixar expert, or the closest thing we have.
I will do a brief history of the Pixar theory. This came about around maybe when Brave was first released. And by this point, Pixar was very well established as the studio that had all these Easter eggs like A113, the Pizza Planet truck, the little Luxo ball. All these Easter eggs had been a long-withstanding joke, I guess. And by the time Brave came around, they slipped these Easter eggs in, and people were like, well, wait a second. How are these Easter eggs in medieval Scotland? And so a man by the name of John Negroni came up with the Pixar theory. It is a theory that connects all the movies by the Easter eggs and connects it onto one giant timeline. He has written a book about it if you want to check that out, or if you want a really good explanation of it, check out the Super Carlin Brothers channel. They do a really good explanation. That's also where I got most of these notes.
Some good looking notes here too, Matt.
Thank you. Very legible.
Take a look.
So what we're going to do is we're going to read through the Pixar theory as it stands, talk about this main overarching story, and then we are going to provide our own interpretations, maybe our own little tweaks, theories, because this is not just telling you the information, this is our take on the Pixar theory. Are you all ready?
Ready? Yeah.
Now, this is a very long theory because there are a lot of movies to cover, so if you would, just let me get through it. So, the theory starts with The Good Dinosaur. So, it was a prehistoric set movie. The Good Dinosaur kind of establishes why the Pixar universe is the way it is, and that is because the asteroid misses the Earth. But the point is, the asteroid misses and the dinosaurs don't go extinct. They evolve and survive and live millions more years, and they evolved to develop things like agriculture, rudimentary machines and things, while humans are still kind of the animals of the world. Eventually they still do go extinct. The story, Arlo's story, happens toward the end of this period where there's all these crazy weather storms that are taking out the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs still do eventually go extinct, but they establish this premise that animals can possess intelligence and sentience, and that carries on through our next movie, which is Brave. In Brave, Merida meets this witch, and the witch has the power to change fate. That's the whole point of the movie, is changing Merida's fate. Again, it has to deal with animals and sentience and emotions, and so these two movies together, The Good Dinosaur and Brave, establish that animals have the capacity for intelligence. Fast forward now to about the 1960s, 50s era with The Incredibles, both 1 and 2, since they happen right after each other. This introduces the third major player of the Pixar theory. There are humans, animals, and machines. The whole point of the Pixar theory is that they kind of fight over dominance over the world. There are different points where each are in control. It's not like they're actively putting down the other two for control. It's just whoever happens to hold the reins at the moment. So at this point, humans are at their peak. They have superpowers, they are fighting crime, they are dominating the world right now. And Syndrome spends his entire life creating this machine powerful enough to kill supers. It ends up being so smart that it carries on. And as time goes on, humans willingly give power over to the machines, creating more and more technology, like we see in the second Incredibles. They are developing new train systems. The screenslaver's entire shtick is humans are spending too much time on machines and it will be damaging to them. The animals kind of lose favor. Like, the good dinosaur is really when the animals had the control. And they're there and they're gaining power and intelligence too, but this is really between the humans and the machines. So now we're gonna move on to the big middle part, which has all of the Toy Story movies, Up, Ratatouille, both of the Finding Nemo movies. Basically at this point, it's just humans kind of declining, animals staying the same, machines taking over. For example, the fish being left alone in the ocean are continuing to evolve. They create things like a school system, real estate, and a single fish successfully navigates the entire ocean to find his son, and a smaller group of fish overpower a poor, unsuspecting dentist. Animals are gaining more intelligence, and for example, another example is Remy in Ratatouille. Instead of trying to overtake the humans like the fish, he's seeking to work with humans and follow his dreams. In Up, Charles Muntz, the bad guy, capitalizes on this animal intelligence with his dogs. He realizes they have a lot more potential and creates these collars that they can speak with. He's hunting the remaining prehistoric animal in Kevin. And then Up also introduces, by and large, the faceless face of the machine's rise to power.
Did you say by and large?
By and large, B&L. That's the company that's trying to break down Carl's house.
Interesting.
It's also this company that makes the batteries seen in Toy Story 3. So the Toy Story movies and toys in general and the Pixar Theory are kind of a weird phenomenon because they are also sentient, but they're not animals, machines, or humans.
I think that they would be more considered like on the machine side.
Yeah, probably.
Probably mixed a little bit of magic, because you're seeing magic in Brave.
You are.
And I'm sure throughout other movies.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's weird, but it's also incredibly important because Toy Story shows how humans are kind of used as batteries, if that makes sense, because of humans and their emotions and their memories, which is a very key player later.
Don't forget that word, memories.
Because of what humans provide for the toys, they kind of give life to inorganic things, but they kind of ruin life for the animals. Like in Finding Dory, they're going through the ocean, there's all this trash everywhere. So that's important for the next movie, and that's Cars. Humans are able to kind of give life to the inanimate objects, but are ruining the organic life of their own planet. They leave and evacuate into space, which is the premise for WALL-E. But meanwhile on Earth, at some point during the 700 years when they left and before WALL-E actually takes place, Cars happens. This is the part that's super weird to me, and no one can figure out where Cars fits into the Pixar Theory. The point is that using the same principles as the toys, Cars gain sentience from the human emotions. They take on kind of the personalities of their former drivers. Their Lightning McQueen was probably a real person because he has references in other movies like Band-Aids and t-shirts. So when the humans leave, the Cars are there. They're not in their own alternate timeline, alternate universe. They are on Earth, according to the Pixar Theory. They've been around on Earth long enough to learn this skill. It's weird, but they're there. They can survive on fuel.
And they've also kind of picked up the personality of their previous owners, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and that's the point. However, the Cars still die out because without humans, they can't continue. So by the time we get to the end of WALL-E, machines have realized that controlling humans won't come by destruction like it was in Incredibles, but rather by pampering them, making things easier, doing things for them. And that's the state of the human race that we see in WALL-E, is they are literally mindless blobs and the machines are literally in control. There's a theory out there that who knows how many plants that Otto must have intercepted along the way and sent it out into space because like they want to maintain the control. They don't want to go back to Earth. But eventually the humans do realize what's happening. They gain control back and go back to Earth. However, Earth is still a polluted planet. This is also a really weird one, but that brings us to the Monsters, Inc. movies. I guess pollution makes the humans evolve more and mutate more and turn into humans.
Monsters.
And sorry, yeah, they turn into monsters. It's not a totally unheard of thing because Jack can turn into a monster. I don't know, super weird, but it has to fit in somehow. So since humans kind of lost, yeah, I mean it is all a stretch. Let's be real. Since humans aren't who they used to be because of how they were on the Axiom ship, and now that they're monsters, they can't be used as the energy source they used to be with the animals and with inanimate objects. And so there is an energy crisis. The only way they can get the energy is by going back in time using these door-shaped time machines to harvest that emotion energy from past humans. There is a theory that Boo actually lived in the time of the superheroes based on posters on her wall, the toys in her room, around the Incredibles time. And at this point, there was a lot of crime with going against the superheroes, and so fear was a very potent emotion at the time, and that's what they used for energy. It's interesting that at the time of Monsters, Inc., the talent is at an all-time high with Sully and Randall fighting for the scare record, but the energy is still at a crisis low. And that's because the time they're traveling back to, their time and past time kind of move parallel. And so this time, after the superheroes are disbanded, moves to a time that's a little bit more full of joy. The machines are making things easier for humans. There's a lot more joy, happiness to go around, and that's what we see in Inside Out. It's not really clear when Inside Out takes place, probably obviously somewhere between Toy Story, Up, and Incredibles, but that just basically proves that joy is the, main emotion here. And that's what the monsters capitalize on.
After a while.
After a while. But not just emotion, but the memories. Memories are the real power source, but emotion just colors the memories. That's also why they target kids, because we see in Inside Out, a lot of Riley's memories are one color, but we see at the end of that movie, she gets more complex emotions, happiness and sadness in one memory. The last movie really to discuss is Coco, which just hammers home the message of why memory is so important. It's really the premise of the entire theory, because the city of the dead thrives on memory. All of these people are only there because their family still remembers them and honors them. Really, all of Pixar deals with memory, how it's important to maintain memories, like don't forget about your ancestors. Don't forget your childhood, your toys, your experiences, your emotions. Don't forget your heroes. Don't forget your legacy. And a lot of main characters in Pixar movies struggle with memory and legacy and forgetting certain aspects of their lives. So that's the point of the Pixar theory, and the way it wraps all the way around is with Boo, because she is the witch from Brave. Since Monsters, Inc. deals with these time-traveling doors, she somehow figures out how to travel time. She single-handedly kind of sets the timeline in motion because she changes the Merida's fate, which, loops all the way back. And bringing up the memory thing again, the idea of Boo being the witch is because she was trying to find Sully. So when she goes back to the past, she stays there so she can preserve his memory, like staying in the past, but remembering someone that occurred in the future. Makes this whole loop, and it's confusing and convoluted, but it has a good message.
Well, let me tell you, that was almost coherent.
Great.
Almost.
I'm glad I did a good job.
Not you, the theory itself.
No, I don't.
What was the name of the mother freaker who put this together?
John Negroni.
John Groney, you psychotic piece of garbage.
I've been talking for a while. What do you guys think?
I believe Daniel had questions.
I have questions. Most of them start with, why? These are taking some serious logical leaps
It really
to
does.
try to connect these movies that are like just not meant to be connected.
It is, but it's interesting to think about.
It is
is.
interesting to think about, but so is, you know, the stuff with The Shining. Like a couple episodes, we were talking about The Shining, that documentary about it. It's interesting to think about, doesn't mean that necessarily everything you think about is right.
Yeah, but that's everybody who's ever come up with any sort of theory on any movie ever. I mean, if you go onto the internet, they come up with the most crazy crap. I mean, me and Matt spent the last 6 months right before Endgame just watching theories on what was going to happen.
Oh, I know.
And so many of them were wrong, but they were also convinced that they were right. And they were pulling it out of their butt, man.
But some of the weirdest ones also turned out to be true.
Right. But at the same time, that's kind of the point of theories. And, you know, we probably won't ever know if this one is true. Guarantee it's not.
Guarantee you
It's
not.
weird though, because like obviously when Pixar started, they didn't sit here and think, all right guys, let's make a crazy connected coherent universe. And a lot of directors
They still haven't.
A lot of the new Pixar directors now who catch word of the theory actively try to make movies that sway from that, like Cars or Coco even.
And, I don't know. I still think it's fun to think about. Like, somebody decided to put this together and connect it in ways that makes it kind of interesting if it were to be true.
Sure.
But overall, Pixar, I believe Daniel said this once, Pixar is just, you know, making movies that deal with feelings. You know, what if Cars or Fish or Feelings had feelings?
What if old people had feelings? What if superheroes had feelings?
What if feelings had feelings? And see, on one hand, yes, it's kind of interesting to think about. And it's always interesting to kind of see, all right, how can I put these two things together? But there has to be a point where you stop, right? I mean, Easter eggs in movies can lead to like some interesting, like, okay, let's think about this for a sec. But the last time that happened seriously, there was Aliens versus Predator, okay? We don't want Aliens versus Predator Pixar edition, you know?
So obviously there are a lot of gaps in the Pixar theory and a lot of, you know, stretches in logic. So what theories do we have? Can we make this work?
No.
Can we try for the sake of the video?
I think so. How do we connect non-interconnected movies?
I think if there was any way we were going to do it, this is going to be the way, but
I know.
it's confusing, convoluted, but I like the idea of the importance of memories.
Yeah, I really like this like kind of other story that's come out of the woodwork from this. Like this control for power between these three parties and how memory plays these important role in all of it, and super interesting.
Okay, so let's start from here. Let's start from basics. So there are people.
There are a few people.
So there's The Incredibles, there's Coco, there's Inside Out, there's Brave. All of those center around people. Yes, sometimes magical people, sometimes stuff happens to them, but they're people, right?
Sure.
So before that, there were dinosaurs.
I just realized Bug's life isn't anywhere in this thing. Let's suffice it to say it happens somewhere with Ratatouille, Toy Story, and Nemo, because that's when animals are.
I just think
Bugs Life
everything's
are also intelligent animals who build a bird replica.
Yeah.
everything just happens in the normal timeline. Dinosaurs are there, and then there's humans, and the humans have toys, there's animals that can talk, and everything's just like somehow a little bit more magical. And then all the trash and everything happens, you know, good environmental message and stuff like that. Humans piece off out of there, leaving robots, which then evolve into cars.
I have heard that one as well. See, Cars and Monsters Inc. are the biggest wrenches in any kind of Pixar theory, just because it's like
I think we
Did-
should
are
just
they-
forget Cars. Let's just forget Cars.
I disagree. I think Cars is more important than your life. Now,
Like, are we
Dude.
supposed to believe that they're in the same dimension or reality or timeline, or are they totally
Yes.
separate?
yeah.
Once you start messing with time travel, it becomes way too convoluted.
How about this? Here's maybe something you could try for fixing it. So the humans are gone. They're off doing their own thing, which leaves the machines without real power, right?
Sure.
So that's when the animals finally come back in. They take over, they start to evolve more, and they become the monsters rather than the humans themselves.
See, that is another take on Pixar Theory that involves Bug's life a lot more, is that the cars are actually just super evolved bugs with hard exoskeletons and who knows what's on the inside.
That just makes me hate Cars.
See, now that is a strong
and then they further evolve into monsters. I know.
I don't know.
it's-
What's a bigger stretch? That the Cars are evolved bugs, or that Boo is the witch from Brave?
I say Cars is the point where it's the short point where machines have their time on Earth because humans are gone. But that's when they start to realize it doesn't work because humans are their batteries.
I think that Wally's happening on the East Coast, New York City. It's all trash and stuff like that. And Cars is happening on the West Coast. Everything's happy and
there's got to be a point where it all dies out, and then
Sorry, I live in New York.
Cars dies out, bugs and animals evolve into monsters, and they start to time travel. And Wall-E happens somewhere right before that. I think it's fair to say the whole thing is just wildly out there.
It is.
absolutely. Yep.
I think
Ridiculous.
for now, we collectively can subscribe to most of what has already been established as the Pixar theory, with the exception of Cars.
With the exception of Daniel. Daniel does not subscribe to the Pixar theory.
But you subscribe to most of it, like the dinosaurs, the humans, the Wall-E, the Leaving.
I think that they're all just movies.
Obviously, we're using our imaginations here. Could this work?
I promise you that there's no way back when they started the first Pixar movie, Toy Story, that they thought to themselves, all right, I've got this plan. These are the movies we're going to make. It's going to take a few decades.
No.
This is the story we need to tell.
They obviously didn't, but it's fun to speculate.
Right. So there's no way they were meant to be interconnected. It's a stretch to say that they are, but it is enjoyable.
I will say that you explained it well.
Oh, good. Again, if you want better explanations, go read John Negroni's book or look up Super Carlin Brothers video on the subject. They do a very good job with it. Pixar theory is weird, but it's there. Comment below what changes you would make to the Pixar theory, if you subscribe to it or not. But you should definitely subscribe to us.
So we draw them from the cinema bowl?
No.
Oh, that's my favorite part of every episode.
Here you go. You can take a page of the Pixar theory.